Adding compositions, and finally, Poppy is going to make her way onto Summoner's Rift, so let's hear from the fans. Skybox looking fantastic. No Zoes in this particular picture, but we do have an Aatrox wandering around, looking real Pacific Rim with that zoom in.
I do appreciate that with the angle we used to show off the LCK spring, we get the cool things like Zoe hitting her head on the camera yesterday. Yeah. Aatrox doing his thing. Definitely not endorsing Transformers. Looking over here, and it's going to be a return to the Klepto. Jace, it's in a Poppy matchup, so it makes perfect sense, right?
And now, one important thing, Papa, is that we get the you and me interaction on the mini-map. So finally, we know where Yuumi is and who she's attached to, instead of just having an Ezreal icon and no Yuumi.
I'll take any clarity. Yeah. I'm very worried about the Mordekaiser ult clarity when that comes out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we were having a discussion about this. Picture-in-picture would be super
I know,
cool.
It's not that though. It's just a kind of a fade-out thing, which might just be confusing in a busy team fight. We'll leave that one to Riot to think about. Going to be Taste the Blood and Ghost Porro to give him kind of a budget control ward to overextend on. I think Ghost Porro is underused. And we see it kind of once per game, not once per team, and it feels like can get you into some interesting spots. In this particular game, though, we do see 2 Ghost Porros for both solo laners. Temporary vision there on the side of Griffin. On the side of KT, just BDD. Going to be picking that one up. Other runes coming through. Nothing too awe-inspiring. Comet, and just in general, if you want to ever learn how to play Yuumi, just copy exactly what Lehends does at every moment.
Yes, he is by far our best Yuumi player, and you can see Tarzan's down here. He's looking to see whether he can get aggressive. The you and me has put him in there. The Flash Audacious is charged, but instantly the flash out from Prey. SnowFlower going to use his as well. That's 2 flashes for 1.
That is a good special right there. That is a really good move. In the brush, they didn't have vision, and they wanted to have the Prowling Projectile as Xin Zhao, fully committed. It gets that double flash, so well done. And Tarzan says, I'll have a blue buff. I'll do some vertical jungling. And predictably, when you are Score, super defensive path. Wolves into red, trying to just guarantee that he didn't lose all his camps on the bot side. So they saw the Xin Zhao. They assumed that they would be playing bot side and be able to take whatever they want. And Score, kind of like in the lane swap days, tries to get a bonus camp that otherwise Xin Zhao would have been able to claim.
Yeah, it's true. At least the Wolf camp didn't get denied. You can't deny the Gromp camp, so the rubber banding effect is going to be helpful there to make sure that all of the minions are going to be available once again, and he should theoretically be able to head towards topside and potentially deny that Wolf camp as well. So Score in the jungle is actually going to be okay.
And the rubber band, or the respawn at a higher level mechanic, is a very relevant one because, yes, you steal blue, and you might be there for the second blue buff spawn, but your path can't be steal blue, take the Gromp and Wolves, and then also be there for Gromp and Wolves. It doesn't really work like that. There's other things you have to do on the map, so getting it to respawn earlier and also just picking up an extra camp is relevant for Score, but he doesn't feel strong enough because of the Poppy top into Jace. With his losing matchups, he doesn't feel strong enough to steal blue. He's actually looking for a gank of his own.
Well, I mean, this may not necessarily be about him not feeling strong enough. This might be about Griffin not knowing where he is. You can see no pings on the map. It's going to be difficult to grab Viper, but the dredge line does land. Lehends is going to pop out. That's really nicely done. SnowFlower, Prowling Projectile, but it goes right into the Titan's Wrath, and Score tried, but didn't quite figure it out.
Every Yuumi we see play that isn't Lehends looks like a budget Lehends when he plays. He understands completely when to deleash and releash to invite aggro. 356 days since we saw Poppy in the LCK. Cool little stat there. Champion that has been underplayed in Korea for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Saw Lehends utilizing the bop and block really nicely as they pull the minion waves towards them. So far, some blows being traded left and right, but it's just Griffin with better map play, which has given them this slight advantage in the gold. And by slight, I mean 1,000 gold just from better jungle pathing and control around this map as far as CS.
I think that's a little bit too reductive because it's double Klepto and winning lane matchup in topside. That's just always going to mean the gold lead is going to be big. I think the bot lane gank is what we reward Griffin for. Everything else just kind of slides into place because this is very much Griffin saying, look at our jungler, look at our laners. Like, you're just going to have to grin and bear it for a while.
Yeah, we're having a better time. 32 to 20, though, is going to be the advantage that Tarzan has. It's 3 camps over the Gragas for those counting at home, as Smeb I need to watch out. Zinzao waiting in the brush. The Heroic Charge does come in here, then he's just dead. Steadfast Presence goes down, and it's not going to do anything because the Audacious Charge was already in. Good gank from Tarzan, first blood.
Great baiting there. Good laning phase from Sword. He very much has been consistent with his aggression, and this time the jungler was there, and we talked about how Poppy can turn this matchup with not a lot of gold. Not a lot of gold is not no items purchased, so Ninja Tabi's in. It's going to take that Chain Vest and the Balmy Cinder for this to be a real shrug-off matchup, so Smeb chooses the wrong time. His top lane, in a sense, abandons him for a moment, and it is first blood to Griffin.
Yeah, goes back, gets himself the Ninja Tabi, isn't going to use the teleport to get back into this lane because it is still shoving towards him and isn't going to crash into the turret, so some small good news as our Sword had to use his teleport to get back up there. But this game is slowly but surely getting out of control of KT.
Smeb will have to, on a budget, be able to answer Akali in the side lane and Jace. Now, it will be Jace for the majority. It is an Ignite Akali, but it's something that he will have to work with. If this was old Aatrox mid, we would have seen teleport from the Akali, but now that we can kill the Aatroxes more reliably, the Ignite is picked up. They could play through mid lane here, and Tarzan's certainly open to this happening.
Yeah, he's already down there in position. Score going to move on over. Of course, something that Score was always known for was his counter gank timings, but Tarzan just going to go grab himself this Rift Scuttler in full view of KT with that ward in the Dragon Pit. And the Hillbilly Gragas, as is Score's favorite skin, will just head over towards the bot.
Now, bot side, the Ezreal Yuumi were stacking the minion wave, so it was obvious turret dive timing for Griffin. Something they've done again and again has been those turret dives. Now, they knew Gromp would respawn because it was cleared by Tarzan earlier, so I think they made the informed read that Score would be there for the counter gank, so won't be pursuing that just yet. But just a little kind of how bot lane is unfurling. It's one of those moments where because we tracked the early game, we got to see a lot of how things were working around the grouped minion wave. As historically, Smeb's got a pretty good win-loss, and remember, Smeb's been a winner and a loser, so him being 10-1 is actually very impressive for a career win rate.
Yeah, exactly. And the last time, of course, that we saw the Poppy was a year ago, but still, that is a scoreline to be very proud of. 10-1. See whether that is going to continue going up or whether that's going to be a 2 in that column. So far, things are looking a little bit dire, but still very, very early days. KT are feeling pretty good with how their interactions will work in later game teamfights. Just whether or not Griffin will be able to play their Siege and Poke as effectively as their composition suggests.
Very relieving for the side of Griffin, side of KT, that it was a first spawn Cloud. Very unlikely to have anything there. Look at the turn in this lane matchup, and this is before even the Balmy Cinder is done.
Yep. Unable to pick up the buckler as SnowFlower is not going to get hit by that prowling projectile. Tarzan's coming in, looking to see whether he can steal this one away. It's not going to go to B2D, but B2D doesn't want it anyway, so Score happily takes his blue buff.
Lane matchup in bot side has been a good one, but again, it's a much bigger CS lead than we saw yesterday. That was like 3 to 5 between the lane, and that was with a lot of roaming from the Nautilus. But it is going to be apparent that on 9-12, with the extra base health, you just don't quite explode people like you did before with how cut down was such a priority thing for the Yuumi, that it was inherently so squishy. Even with just per level scaling, she was getting huge cut down value because she started at 432. Now at least Lehends walks up. He's a jerk. He's already got his quest, and he got it nice and early. I feel like every time anyone on Griffin gets the quest item, they have it at 7 minutes.
Oh, that's an ult from Smeb. Goes, picks up his buckler, but Sword just taking damage here in this lane, and with this pressure mounting, Smeb, he comes back with that Balmy Cinder like you were talking about. He can push very quickly towards this turret. Sword, he's gone home without a teleport. The Poppy's turned the lane.
This is how the lane goes, and it happens earlier than people realize.
I certainly didn't realize it happening this early, Poppy. You're exactly right.
You don't need a Sunfire. You need kind of 4 points in your queue, and then it's just an armor and health going, and it only gets better. There's very much not a turning point until kind of like 4-5 item Jace when he has full armor pen build. When it comes to the side lane, it's very, very hard to answer this Poppy. The last time we actually saw Poppy be answered was, in fact, Smeb going kind of old Last Whisperblade the Ruin King builds many years ago. In the matchup. So Smeb knows both sides of the matchup. He pops forward. Rift Herald spawns in 10 minutes, and this is why you should consider Poppy into some of these top lane matchups, because if the enemy is locking in Jace and you have enough priority around a tank matchup to take Rift Herald top side, the champion's doing something right.
And KT are going to continue with their Rift Herald dominance like you were talking about. They're very, very good, taking Shelly down as early as possible. They are going to get control of that area, and SnowFlower had roamed around, which means they got all the vision that they want, as Viper and Lehends are looking for this gang onto the Sivir. Prey gets under the turret, though, and the final chapter's in the wrong spot. Tarzan's going to join up. You and Me is there, and Prey is going to fall down under the turret, but the investment of 3, and it is traded for the Rift Herald, so KT at least gets something back.
Very stock standard gank timing that Griffin has done again and again. You guys must remember, Talia Pantheon turret dies with Elise in the LCK Summer Final. This was very transparent, but Prey wasn't privy to it early enough or overrated. Spell Shield and Flash being enough to get out. Nautilus was topside, they knew that KT were on Rift Herald, so a little bit poor to see Prey go down there. He should have disengaged a little bit early.
Yeah, wasn't actually quite able to get past.
Re-engage.
Hands. Okay, SnowFlower in trouble as Tarzan's going to get knocked up by the depth charge. SnowFlower goes back in, has himself the stopwatch's score, is trying to lumber his way forward. The flash to get SnowFlower out of trouble. True Shot Barrage finishes off the kill, and now the minion wave's here, and Score has to get the hell out of dodge. Another great you and Me, as there's the belly bob. Score goes golden as well to keep him alive, but the flash from Tarzan, audacious charge gets in, wind becomes lightning, and a double kill for Griffin.
Griffin keep their wits about them, get the extra kills. The flash over the wall from the Zinja to guarantee a double. That is a big, big amount of snowball onto the side of Griffin, and all KT exit with is a Rift Herald.
And now this turret's going to go down. 12 minutes on the clock, so all of those turret plates going over to this Ezreal Yuumi lane. 5-0 is the kill score now, as we'll have a look at it one more time.
And Tarzan smartly stays in the rush. So after the kill and the double TP to get back into the lane, SnowFlower walks up, takes a huge amount of poke and dies. Able to live at the start. Score comes in and they think, okay, they're going to run away. The threat of this Grog is going to be enough. No. Viper understands how slippery, how strong the duo is. Even getting bounced in isn't going to be enough. And I love that Tarzan realizes that any more poke hits, the double kill is real.
Yep. And that was about as perfectly played from Viper as you can get in every single Mystic Shot, every single Essence Flux as well. As we have a look at the gold numbers, it is almost double for Viper. Kleptomancy is a hell of a drug, on top of the fact that he's 1-0-3 with so much more farm.
Yuumi on Griffin and Yuumi on any other team in Korea is such a different thing. They understand how to play around it. Credit to also Tarzan this game for a champion that he hasn't been able to perform on in big matches when he's played Xin needed to do things. You think of the Worlds qualifier against Genji last year where his kind of inaction was one of the reasons the team didn't make it to Worlds. Comes back this time, he's locked and loaded, and Griffin have opened up an insanely massive gold lead. They're 6,000 gold ahead already.
Yep, you were talking about the double klepto, but I think this goes a little bit beyond that. Sword up towards the top side, we were talking about this lane turning, but the whole game's turned around Smeb on a dime, it feels like. Scary stuff. Second Drake goes down. Thankfully, if you're a KT fan, it's a Cloud and an Ocean, not exactly the most high value. As Prey's looking to try and defend this turret, he does have a lot of wave clear. Essence Reaver not quite completed, but will have it relatively soon. The turret plates are just so plentiful here on Griffin's side. That is 6 that Viper and Lehends have eaten up.
A greeting for turret plates. They know they can.
Yeah.
You know, they're so unaccountable on this.
Can you call it greeting when it feels like it belongs to them at this stage of the game?
I just feel like taking turret dives for an auto attack to get a turret plate by definition is greeting, but there's calculated greeting and there's just being greedy. And you know what? It seems like they're RSVPing for free food when it comes to gold, when it comes to kills. And the spikes are everywhere. You know, we always talk about, this is how these comps with Ezreal work. It's all about utilizing your spikes at a certain time. Well, at 14 minutes, 2-item Ezreal. Mid lane, Gunblade, Akali is in the side lane. And while Poppy's standing up to what Sword is dishing out, that's the only counterpoint to otherwise it's complete one map to Griffin.
Yep. Problem is that when Smeb looks down at his minimap, things are going wrong all around him as Prey going down very low, but does at least still manage to stand around this minion wave. Clear it out. Turret plates fell 45 seconds ago, so the rest of the plates here in this mid-outer turret are not going to go over to Viper and Lehends this time. However, they are getting consistent damage on this turret every time the waves go forward, which is why KT feel like they have to invest 4 to try and hold it up.
how can KT weather the storm? This is no longer some gentle rain. This is definitely torrential rain, kind of out of nowhere. KT, we're in a really solid spot.
Yeah, we're flash flooding on this Griff
exactly,
right now.
And I think that's a very important analogy to talk about because things were so much in their hand, you know? Prey walked up too far, he died, he shouldn't have, but that was fine. It's everything after that that has been the real exclamation point on Griffin heavily snowballing gold, and they have a comp that wants to play 3 lanes. They have a comp that is very strong in the early to mid game, and you see Sever, you see Aatrox, and you kind of know what's going on. Even Tank Top plays into team fights in the mid to late game coming down from KT. It doesn't matter what your theoretical damage output is in a team fight if you're an item behind. And that's where already we're swiftly getting to for the side of KT. So their next movements need to be strong. They need to be able to just contest vision, and it needs to be defensive vision. They can't spot what the enemy's doing. They need to make sure they're not getting dove. Otherwise, look at this.
Yep, that is just the last Q landing, and Viper's going to pick up the solo kill onto Prey. Well, felt like a solo kill. There was a cheeky little Yuumi that started that one off, and this prowling projectile, the slow, is so effectual, and this is why people have been picking this combo, even though it hasn't been successful in anybody else's hands.
Viper is just styling on Prey in the 1v1 80 carry matchup. Like you mentioned, that feels a bit facetious, but only a bit, right? That's
yeah.
50 CS plus, and now getting some kills under turrets.
When you miss absolutely 0 of your skill shots, you have to hand it to the 80 carry player, especially when they're on the Ezreal.
Prey off comfort a little bit on this Sivir that he's played, but again, doesn't fit in this kind of legendary history. There's not the Ashe, it's not the
Doesn't
Jhin.
have a bow and arrow, Papa Smithy.
It's not the Ezreal itself.
The Prey champions is Smeb. He's looking for it. You and Me does come out. He wants the Yuumi. There is the ultimate as Score finds it, but the final barrel's going to do it. Explosive cast comes through, mostly for disengage. KT, they get a kill and they get out. Good news, however, Chovy still pushing on the bottom side.
Yeah, you definitely see the inherent things that a teamfight comp can force in an outnumbered scenario. Yuumi goes down. The Akali still pushing a bot side, but not going to be pushing down and in a turret just yet, so the punishment isn't as severe. We're pre-20 minutes, so no Baron calculations going on yet. It's just Griffin walking out very, very far to continue to flex their lead. This time, they're cold.
Yeah. Thankfully for KT fans, some respite now being built up, but just slowly but surely, we're getting to a 9,000 gold lead. It's not even 20 minutes into the game. I haven't seen a lead like this. It feels like this, right? It feels like Griffin have found some good ganks, yes, things like that. However, not this kind of a lead coming out from this action. It's just, it doesn't feel like enough.
I haven't seen Ezreal quite like this either. I love that the replay showed the beginning, which is that the True Shot Barrage spotted the kind of lane gank, or at least return from base that was happening from the CC duo.
Also got the spell shield.
So because of that, they had full info, basically one rotationed him. The Score coming in, able to snipe back a kill. So it does end up being a 1-for-1 in terms of kills, but does KT get to change the map state? You look at the map and say, well, they don't own much more than they did before.
Yeah, well, Smeb's going to flash very early in this one, but the prowling projectile does find him regardless. It's going to take a while to kill the Poppy, but he's still definitely dead. Score might follow the same fate, though. He's going to get knocked up underneath his turret. So much displacement as he flashes eventually. SnowFlower just trying to tank the turret for his team, and does so beautifully.
Answering kill on the top side for 1-for-1 overall. I watched how fast the Poppy died with Sunfire Cape. His way towards a magic resist item. And I noticed that Viper already has 3 items, including a Ludens.
That Ludens came in, I think it's like a full purchase as well. Must have had a lot of gold when he went back to base. Already a 600 gold bounty.
I'm going to have to talk to the stats people and ask about Viper's gold per minute in his last 3 games, because it feels like he's just cheating. It just feels like he has more gold than anyone we've seen. I don't think he's high rolling on Klepto. I think he's just getting every CS and killing people. This is an out-of-order Ezreal. Very early in the game. We've seen some very balanced Ezreals this week. This is not one of them.
Yeah, and that True Shot Barrage wasn't going to hit Prey, but he was so scared of how much damage this Ezreal does that he still had to get the hell out of there.
You wanted to say it wasn't going to kill Prey, and yet we can't be certain.
I don't think it was going to hit him.
I'm just saying, if it did.
Oh, yeah, if it hit him, I think he was dead. I think he was dead. That's a Ludens that's already been picked up. And some Sorcerer's Shoes as he goes back to base.
Oh, lovely. More items.
Yeah. And cheeky longsword.
That said, you know, after the last couple of deaths, I think Prey going for the flash early might, you know.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying anything against Prey. This is all about how incredibly strong Viper is at this point in time.
Usually you kind of scoff at people when they flash, and like, that's not going to kill. But after dying twice, it's kind of a shame on the situation going on for Prey. Trying to deal with things. It would have been
worse if he held the flash and died. That's absolutely true.
Well, there's not many it could have been worse for Prey in game number one things to say, because it's been a struggle. 20 minutes in, and Viper just got his transformation on his Muramana. I believe he now does illegal damage.
Well, it's starting to really feel like his Sona performance, and I feel like Viper was not exactly the player on Griffin that we were talking about in their dominant run, right? Like, but in summer, it's been all about Viper. This guy's damage percentage is through the roof on this team.
Can I run something by you?
Run it by me.
The Sona scenario happened. He's doing illegal damage. I'm like, okay, this is a Sona problem.
Yeah.
Then the Ezreal performance happens, and then we're like, oh, is it an Ezreal problem, or is it just a Viper problem?
When does it become
exactly
just a Viper problem?
At some point, Occam's Razor is shouting out that maybe Viper is just really hot right now with his performance level. So it's nice to see, because like you say, he's had these kind of patches where he goes back to 80 carry, and you're like, oh, not much is happening here. He also had the Kai'Sa pop-up game, so...
Yeah, and he might just be popping off right here as the final chapter comes in once again. That's the route. On to score, going down low, but there from downtown, Viper comes in. Does land the true shot barrage, and now the fight is on. Prey has a spell shield in the backline, goes into his stasis, but Sword has found him in that backline. The Yuumi falls, but I think the damage may have been done. Now Viper coming in to try and clean this one up. He's got full health, and he's looking for more. Tarzan grabs that kill. Chovy comes into the backline, finds his own, and it's only BDD that remains.
Chovy has to hop it up there slowly. It doesn't matter, though. Viper is going to do all the heavy lifting. They turn onto Baron. Tarzan's still alive. The Baron is going to be focused, and very little Aatrox can do.
Yep, not a whole lot, as there's a Gunblade there for the Akali as well, so Chovy should be able to tank this one relatively well. Viper has so much damage. See whether they can get some vision over the wall. You can see that blue trinket is available for Prey, but he's just not going to be able to get to this pit. You can see Chovy, he jumps over the wall, trying to spot out to see where the score was actually going to make his way in, but the Baron, all too easy for Griffin.
Like you say, very academic. We're going to watch the replay to see this one. They open up very early with the final chapter just to start the show, because obviously a lot of people are coming to try to chase this one. Score dies instantly. It's basically what happens here. Prey needs to find a way into the fight. Where's the right TP spot is always something to gauge. The stasis is very curious. That's probably just a bat figure happening from Prey in the backline. He was under no threat there, and then by the end, he does no damage, and he takes no damage to go down.
And from that point on, there was no damage remaining on the side of KT. BDD did have a reset on his World Ender, but I think it may have actually expired by that stage of the fight as well. True Shot Barrage clear out minions in the mid lane as they're just trying to push forward. Take down the rest of the base. 12,000 gold the lead at 23 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, 12,000 at 23 is just
obscene.
Out of order. We're over obscene. 500 gold lead a minute. That's what's already happened in this game. So that is pretty insane. 12,600 gold. Mother of God. So much gold.
That's 4.6k ahead.
I mean, Mother of God's probably wrong. It's actually unholy going on over here.
Mother of someone fallen from God, I guess, as Prey and Smeb underneath this turret is not going to be enough to stop this push from Griffin. Sword still doing a lot of damage here to Smeb, stacking up that Black Cleaver. As Viper is going to tear this turret apart. Meanwhile, fight on towards the top side as Chovy's diving in. Steadfast presence is there. No, it's just the ult from Tarzan. The dive in from BDD, landing the Qs to get the knockups. But Tarzan is still so strong. He does have the World Ender. 30% of his health bar is still there. Infernal Chains are going to land, but BDD can't do it by himself. It's a double kill for Viper as he's continuing to land every skill shot. Triple kill for the Ezreal on the back end. That's the ace, and this may just be the game if the death timers aren't too short for them to end it.
And they might be Atlas, but you know the game is all but academic. These fights from Griffin are very much not even coming in at the right time, not even fully 5-man committing.
We saw how heavy the wallet is, Papa Smithy. They're just smacking him with it over and over again.
And you need
There's
to, right?
Because
it's a team fight comp from KT. They're definitely set up to win these. That's why they're competitive. Many thousand golds down until they're not. Until everyone from Griffin gets there. The wallets, It's the wallets are full of change, it fits. They're full of change and they're actually getting hit by projectiles. On the back end here, flexing is Viper now casually 8-0-5. I bet if you kill him once, there's another 700 gold bounty, and he might be going to the rare 3 700 gold bounties, because you watch this replay, KT like, wait, they turn on one, they just know that he's completely out of position. It takes so long for everyone else to respond, it doesn't matter.
Yep, and Chovy survives in amongst 3 people for far too many seconds for KT's liking. BDD eventually finishes him off, but it's just not enough.
Sword hadn't done anything until he flashed in to start auto-attacking Chovy. He hadn't done any damage in the fight.
Oh,
true
that
shot
true
barrage.
shot barrage
Yep.
for the double.
I noticed it in real time. It's not actually that remarkable. It's just how strong he is this year.
Yeah.
Man.
It's tough to watch, but it's very reminiscent of the Hanwha Life series. Griffin really have pulled themselves together after a pretty forgettable week 1.
I think this is the second biggest Ezreal we've seen in the LCK in recent memory. The biggest I remember was Teddy on Jhin had 6 items at 24 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're basically there. And it's hard to say where the cost of the items was relative to then. Now gold is in the game, blah, blah, blah. All we can say is this is a notably strong Ezreal. This is the Ezreal that causes people to pick Ezreal in Korea, whatever the power level of Ezreal. They always find a way.
He's legendary at 26 minutes with 300 CS and Kleptomancy. I don't think any Ezreal has had this amount of money
But I
at this
think
stage
that
of the game.
understates this Ezreal. This is the Ezreal you sing songs about, right? Like if this
Yep,
is the olden days where we don't have the internet and you go down to the pub and they're singing a song about this like blonde prodigal explorer, they're singing about this Ezreal from this game.
He's the one from the lore.
Yep.
We found him. We found him. His name's Viper. And the one from Korea as well, guys, if you're confused. Smeb on the bottom side of the map, not going to be able to get too much done here against Sword, but this is where we need to be watching. BDD takes half of his health bar, and then a large portion of the rest of it after all of these buttons land. Back to the fountain for you, Mr. BDD. As Viper and Lehends might look like they're just one champion, but it feels like they hit with the power of 7 at this point in time.
Now we're just waiting for the closeout here, the gold lead. 18,000 in 26 minutes. Pushing 2 lanes. As you can see, Smeb holding things on his other side.
Yep, final chapter does come in once again. Viper with the QSS gets himself out of the way, landing the Mystic shots here as they're just looking for the disengage. That was the engage attempt from KT, and it did not work. Smeb losing the 1v1 on the bottom side of the map, but KT at least hold on to 2 of their inhibitor turrets. The Baron buff going to be available again in 45 seconds. Prowling projectile looking for more. BDD has a health bar again, but it's slowly getting chipped away, being melee against this comp. It's so hard. True shot barrage. Over 3 as Tarzan dives in. Audacious charge picks up the kill, as in goes the Akali into the backline, and the Ezreal's there for the cleanup. Gigantic, perfect execution into the backline. And now Smeb has to watch on. The rest of his team are in the death chamber. Nexus turrets will fall, and yes, Smeb, you're tanky. You can't do anything here. Helicopter comes out, and now Griffin will finish the game. 20-5, game 1, all about Griffin. KT, back to the drawing board.
20 kills in 28 minutes, 20,500 gold lead in 28 minutes.